Baby mama number 3. But before I get into it, let me give you this disclaimer. These videos are not to put anybody down. They're not to bash anybody. Remember, we were young. We were all young. I mean, we weren't teenagers, but we were young. And so these things are just things that happen. And for a lot of years, I wouldn't tell these stories, right? Or they're not really stories, but they're my life. But for a lot of years, I wouldn't tell them. Even after my last divorce, I didn't tell these stories because I didn't want to bash my ex-wife. I was really crazy about it, to be honest with you, and really hurt behind a lot of stuff. But anyway, like I said, these videos that I'm making in this series, they're not to bash my children's mothers and all of that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Whoa, now, what's down with you? How you? How your mom and them? Well, you saw the thumbnail, you read the title. Let's get into it. If you're new here, welcome to the page. And if you're back again, let's get it. Thank y'all for liking and subscribing and all of that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate it. So let's go. Like I said, baby mama number 3, who actually turned into my wife, which is my ex-wife now. So the way we met, it was a little strange. I won't say strange. Let's see how I can put it. It was strange from where I come from. But in my opinion, and I could be wrong, so don't come for me, in LA, like I always say, LA is a different animal. So anyway, you heard about the first baby mama, the second baby mama, how we met, when we, broke up and all that kind of stuff. So this one, I was already pretty much, well, I can't say done because they had children by me, but as far as relationship-wise, we were already done in that sense. So anyway, I used to hang out all the time by my mother's cousin. She actually had a boarding care, and I started working for her over there. So I used to be over there all the time. And so naturally, they say how they say that, most relationships start out from people that's around people or something like that. However they say it, y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's the people you around. So anyway, long story short, so let me see. This is rough for y'all because I know y'all gonna judge me on this, but it is what it is. That's my life, and I was taught differently, but I did differently. Let's just say that. So I see this girl, and I'm like, man, this is the prettiest, and don't take it wrong, because this is how we say in our community, but we don't mean harm by it, but this was the prettiest black girl I seen. I mean, my first wife was a beautiful black girl, and what I mean by that is dark skin, right? So this was like the prettiest girl. I don't know what it was when I think I was working on my car or something, and her and another friend came by, and I looked up and I saw this girl. It was on from then. But then anyway, so fast forward, I started asking who the girl was, because we joked around, because it was her and another friend who I was real cool with, and I was playing with the other friend. And so we talked a few minutes and whatever. It was nothing to it. So then I asked who she was. And everybody kept saying, oh, that's so-and-so. You know what I mean? That's so-and-so. I'm not going to say no name, but that was my cousin. So-and-so was my cousin. So I'm like, all right. So immediately, I'm like, all right, that's off limits, because that's just the way I was raised, right? But again, I was raised one way, and I went the other way. I'm not going to even stunt. Y'all know I always say that I try my best to be transparent, even if it makes me look bad, even if it, whatever it is, but I'm going to keep it 100. So anyway, I guess it got back to him that I was asking, and his how you say it, his words, in his words, I mean verbatim, his words was, we just kicking it, we not, basically we're not in no relationship, we just kicking it. And I'm gonna say this, and I hope, it is what it is. So he basically was like, man, if you like her, just go ahead and take off my hands, because I feel like, in other words, he was scared she was gonna get pregnant. So that's what he told me. All I can say is what he told me, and I'm keeping it 100 on my mama. That's what he told me. If you like her, take off my hands, because we just kicking it. And he didn't say I'm scared, but basically I don't want her to get pregnant, or she gonna get pregnant, or something about her getting pregnant, and he didn't want that. All right, so before I fast forward, that should have been the first sign to say, back up off of it, leave alone. I know it should have been, but we do what we do when we do it. So, and that's not making it right, but that's what happened. So anyway, we start talking, and then she told me that she was gonna tell him, because we started getting close. You know what I mean? We didn't do nothing yet physically, but we started getting close. And so she said, well, I'm gonna talk to him and I'm gonna let him know that, we're getting closer, and I like you, and whatever. And so I guess she talked to him, and she said, well, I told him, and he was okay with it. So, but I didn't tell her what he told me, but but anyway, because I had already talked to her. But that was the right thing to do, because y'all the ones kicking it. You know what I mean? So anyway, fast forward, we get together, and we kicking it, we hanging tough. You know what I'm saying? And we getting closer and closer and closer, and eventually we do the thing, and you know what I'm saying? And like I say, we just start getting closer and closer. We started going out, and there was a lot of little stuff that I should have taken into consideration outside of the biggest part, with my cousin and all of that. It was a lot of little stuff that I should have paid attention to that I didn't. And I understand, you know what I'm saying? But how the old folks say, when your nose wide open, you don't pay attention to nothing, basically. So anyway, moving along. So, all right, so fast forward to when she got pregnant. So now she's pregnant, and I don't know what it is about that pregnancy, or maybe it was just me. I don't know. Like I say, I used to be upset with all of my children's mothers. I used to be upset, with a lot of the situations that happened. But as I got older, I had to learn how to take responsibility for my part in all of it too, right? So these stories are basically from my standpoint, from my point of view. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody else has their own points of view. So anyway, so she get pregnant, and we cool, but I'm not gonna even lie, that whole thing, what I was talking about in the beginning with my cousin and all of that, and I was so into her, I was so crazy. Back then I was real jealous. Not jealous enough to fight people and all that kind of shit. I wasn't doing all of that. But I was real jealous of her. You know what I'm saying? Of her being with somebody else, or even the fact that she had been with him. But even though he was before me, so that was my own fault. But anyway, so that kept eating at me, and I kept on saying, bro, I know you done fell for this girl, but are you really going to be able to handle that in the long run? So anyway, it was a lot, like I said, it was a lot of little stuff that, you know, I started thinking in my mind, do I really want to be in a relationship like this? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't bad. It was like I said, it was a few little things. But anyway, moving on. So eventually, I don't remember how the situation happened, but eventually we end up not being together. We got back together, but we ended up taking a break or whatever, because I remember I know that was one thing that was eating at me. So I probably was the one who said I didn't know if I really wanted to do this, but by that time she was already pregnant. So anyway, because I remember, like I say, I can't remember every little detail, but I remember when my son was born, she didn't call. When she went to the hospital, she didn't call me. Her mother eventually called me and told me that the baby was born and all that kind of stuff like that. So so anyway, the baby was born. Eventually we got back together, and we stayed together, and I think a year or two later, she got pregnant again with my daughter, and that's when we got married after that. So, we got married, we stayed together. It was a little knick-knack, it was a few little knick-knack things in between that, you know what I'm saying, that kind of was on my mind too, but I was in it to win it, basically. And, excuse me, and now that I think back, like I always say, retrospect is always 20. Hindsight is always 20/20. You know, looking back in retrospect, you can see things that you saw then, but you really didn't, and some you saw and you mentioned, but you know, people always say, "No, that I wouldn't do that." Anyway, moving forward. Excuse me, y'all. I just ate lunch, and I'm sorry. I don't like to be doing all of that, but it is what it is. So y'all excuse me. So anyway, so we doing as well as couples can do. You know what I'm saying? Couple times we was homeless and stuff like that. I mean, we never had to sleep under the bridge or sleep in the streets, but we've been in a couple shelters and different stuff like that. We've had to stay with her mother a couple times. All right, we get past all of that. And so getting to how we split up, right? Because we stayed together. We was together for like about 20 years, because I think we was together a good while before my son came. And then we was together a good while before we got married. And were we married 20 years? Well, it was around 20 years. I know it was 20 years, you know what I'm saying, of that relationship. So when we separated, my son was 18 and my daughter was 16. Yep. And so anyway, so like I say, it was a lot of little stuff in between. Some of it I asked about, some of it we argued about, some of it was this, some of it was that. But the craziest part about it was people that do that, like, basically she was like jealous. I couldn't have no female friends. I couldn't, because I used to go and play pickup ball, and I met this super cool chick that was like, and she eventually, not to get off the subject, but she eventually became a coach at one of the colleges. But anyway, long story short, I met her. I met a lot of the guys, but she was one of the only female ballers that we used to play pickup ball with. And she was cool. She actually was teaching me some shit about basketball. Because, I mean, I played basketball, but I never played in school or in, none of the fundamental. I just played. So anyway, they kind of took to me. Her and this older guy named Walt, they they used to call me like, hey, man, we going to shoot over here, or we going to, because we used to shoot at the Y a lot. Anyway, getting back to this story, I couldn't have female friends. That's how jealous she was and all of that kind of stuff. And it was crazy because some of the things that I was seeing, or some things I saw, some things I thought I saw, it was like, bruh, something going on. And it was always, no, I wouldn't never do this and I would never do that. And anyway, that's how that went. But anyway, long story short, went through that whole marriage. We had issues on and off here and there, but we stayed. We moved back home to Louisiana and then moved back and then moved back. The last time we moved back, I think, is when we separated or whatever. I think that was we moved back. The last time we moved back was 2007, I think. Back from Cali to New Orleans, because we had moved there. We had moved once before and went back to Cali. And then I think we separated in 2012 or 11, 12, somewhere around there. But anyway, the reason we separated and got divorced was because of infidelity on her part. And again, I'm not bashing her. I'm just saying what happened. You know that I've always been taught, and I'm sure y'all, a lot of people have heard, why you shouldn't let people in your house. Or, you know what I'm saying? Let people live with y'all, stay with y'all, whatever. Well, her family was different because it was her mother, and her brother. And they kind of always had somebody staying with them because her mother was that type of person where she'll invite people in and help them out and all that kind of stuff. Well, we didn't have that because we were always taught that you invite somebody in your house and eventually all your shit be gone. Or you invite somebody in your house and they done something they had no business, right? So anyway, long story short, they invited somebody to stay in the house. And I'm just going to say it. It was one of my son's friends. That's why I felt so messed up about it. Because how could you, now, anyway, let's move forward. Because again, I don't want to bash her. I don't want y'all to bash her. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Because it ain't that type of party. I'm just saying what happened with all of my baby mamas. How I have 3 baby mamas. What happened with them and all that kind of stuff. So I got to say this side of the story. Because just like the other 2 stories about my other children's mothers, I never wanted to say that because I don't want nobody to get hurt behind it, or I don't want, but shit, it's been hurting me since the shit happened. So I'm not playing tit for tat, but it's time for me to tell my story. That's all it is to it. You know what I'm saying? And so she said it was nothing. It was just phone stuff or whatever. But I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? And then when stuff like that happens, all kind of stuff start coming back. Like, yeah, I thought this was way before that. Yeah, I thought, you know what I'm saying? You start to, like I say, hindsight is always 20/20. When you look back in retrospect, a lot of stuff that didn't add up, now they're starting to add up. So, in my opinion, that's why I said before, it wasn't no going back. It wasn't no reconcile. It wasn't no reconciliation. It was none of that. You know what I'm saying? Not on my part. You know what I mean? So, but I'm not going to even lie. Even after that, you know what I'm saying? I still had feelings for her, and I still tried to help her when she need help and all that. I haven't talked to her in a long time now, but before she went back to, because her and my youngest daughter moved back to California, and I stayed in New Orleans, and my son stayed there with me. So, like I said, before that, I would help out whenever I could help out and whatever. But anyway, that's how that happened, and I kind of want to tell a story how it happened exactly, but I kind of feel like just telling this part of it, I'm bashing her, and that's not my intention. You know what I'm saying? It's really not. I promise you it's not, because even after we split up, I didn't really want nobody to talk bad about her. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was hurt, I was mad, I was pissed, I was hurt, I had all kind of crazy emotions. I didn't really want to tell nobody because I didn't want to hear, I told you. I didn't want to hear, yeah, she or this, she one of them. No, she wasn't that when I was with her. That's the kind of dude I am. You know, excuse the expression, but you know how some men, they be like, oh yeah, she was a hoe. She did. No, she wasn't that when you was with her, so why she gotta be that now? So that, you know what I'm saying? That's my thing about that, because it's like, anyway, maybe I'll tell the story another time. Maybe I won't. I probably should, because a lot of this stuff I hold on to that I need to let go. And like I said in another one of my videos, this for me is kind of like therapy. I said that I post a lot. I post so even if a lot of people don't like it and comment and see it, that maybe one day, you know, my grandkids or their children or whoever might want to see who Adam LeBeau was. But on the other hand, or the other side of that, telling these stories or these recollections, I think they're kind of therapy for me, therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I say, I don't just tell these stories to everybody. I don't, because again, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how bad it hurt me, no matter how upset I was, at the end of the day, I was married to this woman for 20 years. And I lived with her. And the craziest part about it is whenever I do say it or tell a story or think about it, the first thing come to my mind, which is the craziest, is that I wish I would have did some of the things that she was accusing me of. Then it might not would have felt so bad, because on my mama, I was faithful the whole time to her. I promise you that. And I felt so played, because I'm like, shit, if I would have been out there doing me, then maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. But two wrongs don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, that's the story of my third baby mother, my third baby mama, who eventually became my wife, and we were married for 20 years. And we got divorced because of infidelity on her part. And the craziest part, like I said, she always used to say, even then, always, it was other times that I just knew, but anyway, and she would always say, I would never do that to you. I would never disrespect you. I would never do that. And here we are. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say this. I know that God allows things to happen, for certain things to happen, because even though I'm not going to lie and say I didn't love her, I was crazy about her. I loved her. I was obsessed with her, all of that, right? But the woman I'm with now, my wife, who I'm with now, I still say I probably should have been with her from the beginning. But I said in another video that God allows things to happen, because even though I could have been with her from the beginning, then I wouldn't have the children that I have now. I wouldn't have the experiences that I have now. Maybe I wouldn't be the person that I am now if I hadn't gone through those things, right? And the same for those women. You know what I'm saying? So we can say if I coulda, shoulda, woulda all day long, but it really don't matter because we're here now. And this woman loves me with everything in her. I know she does. She don't even have to tell me that. I know it. I've been knowing her. Matter of fact, she was my first, no, not my first girlfriend, but she was my first love. I'll say that. I think she was 13 and I was 15, or I was 14, she was something like that when we first met. And her family and my family has always been friends because my aunt was married to my uncle. My aunt was married to my uncle. My uncle was married to her. My wife, who I'm with now, married to her sister. And they were brothers. What? What was that? No. My aunt was married to my uncle. My uncle's brother was married to my wife now, to her sister. So my wife's sister, my wife who I'm with now, her sister was married to Brother A. Brother A, Brother C was married to my aunt. That's how that went. So it's always been a family dynamic, something like that, right? That's how, I believe that's how we got back together, because I had just got divorced, or was getting divorced, and God rest the day, her husband, who she was married to, he had passed. Some kind of way, because her and my sister stayed in contact, because they were friends. And some kind of way, that's how we got back in contact. And it was on and popping after we started seeing each other. Or after we got back in contact. But we had lost contact all of them rest of them years. Because remember I told you I couldn't have no female friends with my ex-wife. But anyway, that's the story of my third baby mama, who eventually became my wife, who eventually became my ex-wife because of infidelity. And that's how that happened. So, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe so you can see more like this. And when you talk to me in the comments, I'll talk to you back. But like I always say, just don't be disrespectful. And we good. You know what I'm saying? Now, your beliefs are your beliefs, so I get that. But again, you can say what you believe without being disrespectful. That's my only thing. So I appreciate y'all for watching, and if you stayed this long, I really appreciate that. And I'll see y'all in the next one. One love.